There are fears among some that the Cyprus real estate market may be in a bubble and may be about to explode, to have that bubble collapse. And this comes as the government is introducing some new changes to the Regulation 6.2 residency program within Cyprus. It's sort of a permanent residence program. I've done a video about it in the past. And these new programs will make it more difficult for people abroad to come in. Now they're saying ostensibly this is based on anti-money laundering rules and trying to come into the level of guidance given by the EU. This is nonsense, but we're going to talk about the specifics of it in just a minute and find out what is going on, what I think about that program today versus in the past, whether it's something you should be interested in, and what these changes are. So let's dive in. Before we do, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notification bell. Thank you everyone for being here. It is Michael from Offshore Citizen. We are some of the foremost international tax optimization specialists. We are people who, when you call a particular expert, usually they're an expert only in that one country that they're talking to and they're trying to sell you about that. We are jurisdiction agnostic. We're experts across many, many jurisdictions. And as a result, we can help you to figure out what is the best solution for you in terms of tax, in terms of where to form your company, where to bank, where to relocate, residencies, citizenships, and in particular, how those interact with each other, because very often someone might understand one place, but they don't understand how it interacts with another and give bad advice as a result. So we're here to help you for those things. If you are at all interested, please reach out to us. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below. And otherwise, you can send a message through offshorecitizen.net. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Cyprus. Now, Cyprus, notably EU country, not part of the Schengen zone, not easy to get citizenship. They used to have a citizenship by investment program. It closed in 2020. Notably, the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, had gotten citizenship there, along with a bunch of other people. And there was seen to be some kind of impropriety in terms of how the program was managed. And so some people who probably shouldn't have got it. Anyway, that's something we've kind of discussed on this channel a bunch, and I've talked about that particular incident in the past. In the absence of that, they have this program called Regulation 6.2. Now, there's a variety of different residency programs in Cyprus. There's something called Category F. Category F is a very slow and difficult process to get, not something that you can usually work your way through, but it's, fairly open in terms of the types of investments you can supposedly do. You can actually do a temporary residence permit, which is usually what we advise clients on and what we usually direct them to. You'll find that almost none of the Cyprus providers talk about it. In fact, usually if you even Google, temporary residence in Cyprus, you won't find a lot, because the way that it is in Cyprus is they like to push the things that they can sell and make money off of, not necessarily the things that are best for you. This being said, that does carry with it some restrictions, etc. And so it might not be best for everyone, but it's the lowest barrier to entry way to get into Cyprus. On the other hand, Regulation 6.2 is a very expedited, fast path to what is considered to be permanent residence. Permanent residence in the sense that so long as you maintain the investment, you can maintain residency there, and so you could have that for potentially ever. Notably, Cyprus is not a Schengen country, and so it's not like you gain access to the rest of the Schengen zone through this. However, the weather is great in Cyprus. It's maybe some of the best weather in Europe, certainly the Mediterranean. It's far to the south, down by Turkey, and so as a result, the water tends to be warmer there. I actually got married in Cyprus, so quite nice area during the summer to go and to explore. A little bit more rural, but I find that clients who move there tend to stay there. They tend to like it. I was just talking to somebody who'd moved there recently, asking, how do you like it? He's like, oh, it's fantastic. There's a great community of people, good attitude, etc. So for people who are interested, Cyprus could be appealing, and being able to have a backup plan of sort of a permanent residency in Cyprus seems appealing. They are, however, changing the rules a little bit. Now, for the right person, this probably will not make that much of a difference, but they're raising the income level. It used to be you could have 30,000 euros per year as income to qualify. Now you need 50,000. You can't make that up just by having cash in the bank. So you could have $1 billion and have no income, and that wouldn't work for you. So not particularly great. And then each dependent adds, you're talking about like a spouse, 15,000 euros a year, or children, 10,000 euros a year. So those are kind of elevated requirements. Notably, you do need a criminal record check. Not a surprise. This is pretty normal in all these programs. I don't know why people suggest like criminals are getting in here, et cetera. It's like they almost all require criminal record checks. What are you talking about? But there's a thing that apparently they're going to require it every year, which is a real hassle. And they're going to have some verification process to make sure you maintain the investment and you maintain the amount of income that is required. You're also required to have medical insurance. Frankly, I actually think this is a good thing. I don't know why you would bring somebody into your country without requiring that they have medical insurance, because then they might feed off your medical system. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But anyway, in a few cases that has been the case, or at least the medical coverage required really isn't tangible, couldn't cover you, and so they're going to require this higher standard. So what this means is that a lot of retirees, in particular from UK and some other non-EU countries, who formally could qualify to come into Cyprus, will probably not be able to qualify. And they're concerned that this will reduce the demand for property in the area and kind of create a little bit of an issue, as well as people who have already been in may have to sell, and that could crash the market further. Now, the first time that I ever went to Cyprus, I looked at the market and thought, this is an overpriced market. This is ridiculously expensive. Now, at the time, they had the Citizenship by Investment program, and I think that was one of the things pushing up the prices. This Regulation 6.2 pushes up the prices, and it's not particularly a very cost-effective market as far as I can conclude. So I was never particularly excited about the investments that you would get under Regulation 6.2. Like I said, the people in the Cyprus offices like to push it because they get high commissions from it. Okay, fair enough. But anytime there's high commissions paid out, I know that the value for the money that you're getting is not great. And so being somebody who doesn't like to overpay for real estate, in fact, I like to underpay for real estate, this is a problem for me. So, you know, it still could be okay if you're like, okay, you know what, I just accept it, I'm paying a little bit extra, it's all right, I'm going to buy a property. It has to be a new property that is the first time that it's sold, so basically you're buying it from a developer, and so of course this promotes the development industry. They have quite a bit of VAT that can come into play on real estate sales in Cyprus, which is kind of crazy given how high those numbers are going to be. But anyway, be that as it may, it is what it is. And so what does this mean in terms of, like, could you have, like, is there a bubble in Cyprus? Could the Cyprus real estate market crash? Yeah, it could. I think this more so, we've talked a little bit about Portugal and the effects there. In Portugal, the difference is that you're buying retail off of any property on the market, and you can buy off the secondary market. Here you're not, you know, kind of this artificially inflated market that's taking place. Second of all, the golden visa is a relatively small share of the overall market, and what you find is that the upward demand pressure that has been put there is largely by people who are coming in from Europe who don't need to invest, or people who are coming in under other visas like D7s, etc. Again, not really the type of thing that is going to have a high impact on the price, and it's a much larger market. Here it's a smaller market, there's just fewer people, and therefore you have more of the pressure that comes about from this. However, there's been a rising wave in anticipation of these changes. They're coming into effect May 2nd, so by the time this video plays, you will probably be in that situation. And so, you know, you should give it some thought whether this is the right type of program for you. Now, if you're somebody who's actually wanting to move to Cyprus and live in Cyprus long term, this really affords a lot of freedom. You basically have essentially no minimum stay requirement. Getting a citizenship is difficult, to say the least. I had somebody in one of our comments recently asking about, hey, isn't it true that you can just be there 60 days a year and, you know, 7 years later or 5 years later or whatever, get citizenship? No, this is not true. There's a quite high minimum stay requirement for over a 7-year period, the last year of which you actually have to be there in the entire year. And so many people would not go for that. If I recall correctly, they also introduced a Greek language test. They didn't used to have that. I don't know whether it actually went through, but it was one of the conversations we had with one of the local lawyers a little while ago. And so that would also make it more difficult, because how many people are going to learn Greek? One of the appeals of Cyprus is the fact that it tends to be quite English speaking, so it competes a little bit with Malta, and in some regards kind of favorably. Competes a little bit with Portugal, in some regards favorably, in some regards less so. Depends a little bit on your personal preferences. Definitely the tax treatment can be really exceptional, arguably the best in the EU for somebody who is there under the non-DOM program, meaning that for the first 17 years, you have a bunch of favorable tax treatment. Again, I've done a video on that, so you can go check it out. It is a sign of kind of the changes. I find it really interesting that they say, oh, we're doing this in part to beef up the standards and comply with the EU anti-money laundering stuff. I mentioned before that anti-money laundering is a complete boogeyman. It's just so, like, what does whether you have 30,000 or 50,000 euros a year of income have to do with anti-money laundering? It has nothing to do with anti-money laundering. Zero to do with it. Now, if you want to say, and this is one of the other arguments that they did make, is there are different ways to invest. You don't just have to buy property. It's 300,000 euros of property, not including VAT, which can be done across 2 properties or 1. There are some ways that you can buy other non-residential property, and in that case, it can come to the secondary market. So that was actually kind of a more interesting way to go if you're buying shops or hotels or something like that. and you can also invest into a company. So again, those are options. And supposedly what they want to do is direct some of the money away from the residential real estate sector and into some of these others, as well as try and maintain permanence of the holding. So anyway, if that is interesting to you, or if you're interested in other programs, you can reach out to us. Check out the videos I've done on Cyprus in the past. We'll link to them somewhere up here. So you can go and check them out, as well as the tax programs that they have there, and see if it is something that's right for you, or if there are other places. We talk about lots of them on this channel, and so I invite you to go check those out or reach out to us. I will see you on the next video.